Before we dive into today's episode, if you are an agent who has been struggling, especially in the mindset area, then you'll want to check out this powerful episode with my good friend, Cody Askins. He's the founder of 8%. He's a speaker, he's a coach, and he is a serial entrepreneur. And I promise you, by the end of the episode, you will be deeply motivated and inspired. So go check out this episode right now. What is up, everyone? Welcome to the First Year Insurance Agent Podcast. And I can't think of a better episode, a better way to kick this podcast off than with Mr. 8% himself, Mr. Cody Askins. Cody, tell everybody what's up real quickly.
What is up? Dude, appreciate you having me on this podcast. I'm super excited. What a great name. What a great theme.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the First Year Insurance Agent Podcast, we are committed to all of you, no matter which vertical you're in, to interview leaders like Cody's and others to hopefully help you increase your chances of success within that first year. Because Cody, you know this better than anyone, right? This is how the 8% Nation was founded. The statistic that most insurance is that 92% of all insurance agents quit within their first 3 years. And that's why I wanted to have you on. So will you talk about that just for a moment?
I will, buddy. Yes. It's funny you say that. Like, I got started in the business back when I was going to college, and I went to a recruiting meeting, and the manager said, all right, there's about 10 of us in the room. He said, all right, everybody stand up. We're like, okay. He said, now take a look around for a second. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm competitive. So I'm like sizing people up, you know. If you'd have been in the room, I'd be like, no chance. I cannot take Rob, you know. However, you weren't. Thank goodness for me.
Yeah.
And then the manager said, all right, now 9 of you sit down. He left one person standing. He did not leave me standing. And what he said next is a real driver for everything we do today. He said, maybe one of you will make it. Well, what I didn't realize at the time is that 92% of insurance agents fell in their first 3 years. And so I think this is such a fitting podcast because that first year is so crucial.
Yeah. And like I said, I can't think of anyone else better to have on the podcast and kick this thing off than talking about that, because you're a mindset guy, right? You know this. A lot of times it's so sexy to talk about the money or the methodology in our industry, whether it's P&C, FE, you know, final expense, Medicare, whatever. Yeah. And those are good things. But I think a lot of times the mindset is overlooked or it's classified as the raw stuff. But talk about, because you interview leaders from all across the country, man, right? You're in rooms that a lot of people like us are not in. So talk about the mindset and how important that is, especially within that first year.
Dude, it is the most important thing. Like, here's an example. When I first got in the business, after that meeting, that recruiting meeting, to kind of continue the story, I go to my dad and I'm like, hey, I don't want to fail. I'm listening to Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and some old school dudes. And I'm like, I need a target. Like, I need a goal. You know, I'm a big believer in goals, always had goals. And he said, you're my son. You're going to make 6 figures your first year. And I'm like, who? I'm like looking between my legs. I'm like, dude, who's he talking to? You know what I mean? Like, me? Really? Like, bro, I'm got like $16 in my account. I'm playing basketball. I'm living in a dorm. Never done sales. Like, what? But what's interesting about that is when someone does that, right? And this podcast and Rob is going to do that for you guys that are listening that are in your first year. It's like, it kind of gets your attention. You're like, maybe I could, right? And so him believing in me actually and speaking life into me actually made me start to believe in my ability to accomplish this. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's right. So I write out, I will earn $100,000 my first year in the insurance business. Dated it, signed it. My dad dated it, signed it, hung it up on the wall of my cubicle. And then every day I went out to do that. Well, what most people don't know is I also like wrote it on my mirror. I also put it on my a Post-it note by my speedometer. I also wrote it, put it on my nightstand. I also wrote it twice a day, every single day. Like, you will earn 6 figures your first year. You will sit down with at least 10 people. You know, you will make at least $2,000 this week. Like, I was writing these things down multiple times a day and seeing it visually constantly. Well, why would I do that? And why would you do that if you're in your first year? You would do that because a lot of the first year is just persisting. It's getting the crap beat out of you and continuing anyway. Well, dude, what happens is when you get the crap beat out of you, your belief starts to lower. Your mindset actually starts to go backwards, where if you've got people that believe in you, like Rob, if you've got the papers written down, you're going to make six figures. If you've got, the positive things happening and you're seeing these things, it actually starts to raise your belief. And all you're trying to do is raise your belief over this first year so that you can go out and consistently earn a living.
Yeah, because this, sometimes it's like you're on an island by yourself. And I tell people, when you're in isolation, or you feel like you're in isolation, that's really when a lot of negative things can really begin to flourish, right? You've seen that. And so in our space, even though you may have friends in the industry, everybody's busy. Everybody's trying to make it. Everybody's, doing the things to be successful. So for you, give us some practical things. Like if we broke it down to just some real practicality, what are some things that you've done from day one? And of course, I know now you've transitioned into inspiring and motivating agents like us all across the country and really the world. But what are some things that you've done, but also maybe some things that you've seen some other top agents do every single day to keep that mindset going?
Yeah, there's a bunch of advice I could give. I'll break it down into a few easy steps. Okay, so for me, once I had a target, which I do believe is step one, like that is a target, like that helped me so much, man. Like having a target, and here's why: because step one of success is showing up. Well, it's cool to show up, but if you don't know why you're showing up, when you're showing up, or where you're going, it's kind of like shooting and not having a target, right? Or shooting and not having a hoop when I'm playing hoops in the morning, right? That piece is crucial. What do you want to accomplish? And it may be six figures because that's cool, and everybody says six figures because Cody Askins says six figures. But dude, if you're making $38,000 a year, 38 grand doing this would be better than 38 grand doing that, because you're on your own schedule, you have, financial freedom, right? So maybe it's 50, maybe it's 60, maybe it's, hey dude, if I could just do $5,000 a month doing this, man, I'm going to win at a massive level. Okay. So having the target is an amazing first piece. Okay. What's the target? The next step is, once you have the target, you need to start breaking down, like do the math, break down the numbers. So let's just say it's 60 grand, or you know what? Let's stretch and say it's 100. Okay. Just because I love using that number. Let's say it's 100K. Let's say you take 2 weeks off for a vacation. You got 50 weeks, 100K divided by 50 weeks. You're at $2,000 a week. Okay, let's just say you just work 5 days per week, which if you're a new agent, you may want to throw in the occasional Saturday morning and that kind of stuff, right? But let's just say 5 days, that's $400 per day. I had a manager when I first started that said, bro, if you can just make $300 per day this year, you'll make six figures. And six figures felt huge, but then he said, hey, Cody, if you just make $300, I'm like, oh, freak, bro. Like, I can make $300, right? It brings it to life. It makes it real. It brings it down to your level. So the second is, okay, do the math. So can you do $400 today? Can you do $400 tomorrow? Now, how do you do $2,000 a week and $400 every day in those examples? Okay. So what you need to do? Well, you need to hook up with somebody like Rob and say, okay, dude, what am I selling? What's my average commission? Because if I start doing the math, and let's just say that I make an average of $500 per appointment. In Rob's example, he makes freaking $3,000 per appointment. But okay, so he can teach you that on a different podcast. But today, right, we can teach you how to make even at $500. Do you need to sell 4 appointments? Well, okay, because if you sell 4 at $500, you get your $2K. Okay, cool. So now, this is part of step 3. Is like, okay, you've done the math. Now you're trying to figure out how to bring it to life. Okay, so you need 4 homes. Say you close half. You need to sit down and ask 10 people to buy every week. That's where step 3 comes in. When I know what the target is, when I've done the math, then it's how do I sit with 8? For me, it was how do I sit with 10? And the third is prospecting. You need to be focused on prospecting so that you can actually go see the 8 or see the 10. And for me, I knew if I sat down and asked 10 people to buy life insurance every single week, I was going to make 6 figures. And so I didn't worry about all the other things. I didn't worry about knowing all the products. I didn't worry about all the fancy stuff or the fancy sales skills. I didn't try to be Rob Sevilla in 12 minutes. I said, I'm going to sit down and ask 10 people to buy life insurance this week. And I did that every week.
Sure. So let me, that brings up a great point, because you actually have to change your mindset when it comes to investing in your business to get those prospects, right? I mean, and you're a lead guy. You know this. You have your coaching guy, coaching program where you coach agents. But talk about the mind shift that needs to happen in order for you to invest in your business, because some people go, well, should I do free leads? Should I do paid leads? So you're around those kind of questions all the time. Talk about the mindset that needs to shift in order to get there.
Yeah, and we don't have time to explain this, but like, dude, if it's paid, you're paying them. If it's free, you're still paying for it. You just don't know how you're paying for it quite yet. You're paying, but you're taking a reduced commission, or you're paying for it later. In the example of marketing, it is if you gave me $1 and I gave you $2, how many dollars would you give me? Well, dude, that people would be like, I give you all the dollars, however many I got, right? Well,
right.
That is what marketing is all about. Even if it's $2, $3, $4, $5, your goal is you're not spending money. You are investing in the growth of your business, right? There's a lot of things that we do because we are investing in the growth of what we're doing. So if I said, hey, you've got to spend $6K over the year to make 60, right? It's $500 a month. So you had to spend 6 to make 60. If you're making 38 now, working at Dollar General, would you find 6K if you knew you would make 60? And the answer is yes, right? You still netted 54 grand. So that's where you got to do the math of like, okay, if I need to sit with my 10 people, my 8 people, whatever the number is, how am I going to do that? Am I going to do that from brand new leads at Kaboom leads? Am I going to do that with age leads? Am I going to do that with I had a new agent this morning that emailed me over the weekend and said, I don't have a lot of money. How can I get in front of people? They said, I want to buy Kaboom, but I'm like, we have the buy now, pay later program, but they're like, I don't have a bunch of money. How do we get in front of people? And I said, well, you can you've got your warm market. You could write down 200 people that you know or that know you that you could go reach out to. There's a book called Prospecting Made Easy that says if you can't write down a list of 500 people, then you're not serious about business. Well, it's a little extreme, but whether it's 100 or 200 or whatever, you could write down warm market list. You could also go and work aged leads. Yeah. You could post on social. Like I cold called and cold door knocked my way to making $117,000 in 8 months. I hired college kids to come over and gave them $10 and $20 per appointment and bought them pizza and gave them a phone and some data list. But I didn't invest in leads other than we cold called and cold door knocked and made $100K. I did it the hard way. What I'm saying is you need a system. Like Rob has systems in place where he knows if he does Medicare seminars or direct mail or SEO with his buddy in Mississippi, or different things that he invests in his company throughout the year, right? And maybe he'll give Kaboom a bone every now and then, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, he knows when he does these things, he is investing. He will see, okay, how am I getting a return in this avenue, and this avenue, and this avenue? Oh, I got a 20x return doing a seminar. He's like, bro, I'm doing another one of those for sure. Then he starts evaluating what's happening so that he can double down and do more of that. As he's a business owner, he's auditing the investments that he's making.
Yeah, and it just really boils down to transitioning from W-2 mindset, right, into an entrepreneurial mindset. And the reason I wanted to talk about that real quickly was because there's so many people that even I've worked with that they have a bad week and it's like the whole world collapses. And I'm like, listen, you're either going to invest sweat equity or money.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't have a lot of money right now, then you got to invest the time.
Yes.
Right? Or once you get the money, you can use the money to buy back the time, right? This is really what we're talking about here. So I definitely love what you're saying. And yes, go ahead.
Well, also to that note too, why would we expect we're going to have a good week every single week?
Yes. Good point.
When we first learned how to ride a bike, hey, you're in your first year, dude, you got some freaking training wheels on your bike. Okay. You just do. Rob's behind your bike and he's pushing you along and you're rolling really slow, but you think you're going really fast. He's barely pushing and you're hitting hitting a crack in the road and you're falling over every now and then. He's like patting you on the back. Hey, buddy, good job. Get back on the bike. We'll push you some more. That's happening, whether you see it or not. Okay.
Yeah.
And whether you think you're at 58 years in sales and you're freaking amazing. Trust me, you're not yet. Okay. It's okay. Like, let's get the ego out of the way. Let's just focus on winning. But when you first rode a bike, you had help. When you first rode a bike, you fell down and you weren't good at riding a bike. Why would you expect in your first year in insurance to be freaking amazing? You're not going to be. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be hard. It's going to be the worst year of your career because you're going to be the worst that you will ever be. Also, when you rode a bike or guess what? When you first started playing T-ball, it'd been weird if you didn't have a coach to guide you and direct you and hold you accountable, right? So guess what? You're going to need a coach, someone to help you, someone to hold you accountable, right? Someone like Rob to push you along the way so that when you do fall, he can believe in you and speak life into you and keep you moving. You are supposed to suck.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be any good. Now, if you end up being okay or halfway decent like I was, what's funny is I made 117 grand. I thought it was like all the money in the world and I was freaking amazing, even though I was terrible back then. I just got in front of a lot of people. There's a hack. But at the end of the day, you are not going to be good and it is okay because that is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. That's a great question. Dabo Swinney says you got to embrace the suck. Right? You got to be willing to suck for a certain period of time before you can get good at something. And here's the other thing, Cody, when it comes to mindset, just to kind of stay on this topic for a second, when it comes to investing and, getting in front of people is really, it's never really a lack of resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness. Talk about that because you've done that in your own companies, right? Multiple companies. Millionaire by the time you were age, was it 30, 31?
7? No, just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know you're not 37.
Yeah. I'll buy 30 for sure. Yeah. That was one of my goals.
But you've always been a resourceful guy, even with your 8% conferences. And that's what really motivates me and inspires me when I'm around you is because I go, man, Cody really believes in being resourceful. So talk about that.
Correct. Yeah. Here's the difference. Like if you think about it, I'll apply it to sports a little bit. Like when the season starts, none of the NFL teams are like, we are finishing last or our goal is to make the playoffs. No.
Right.
Their goal is to win the Super Bowl. Their goal is to win. So, and guess what? When the Browns get destroyed by the Cowboys yesterday, we'll air this, but you get the idea, right? Yeah. When that happens, the Browns don't just stop playing. Right. Like there's going to be people that literally jump off the ship and just stop playing and they quit and they throw in the towel. That happens a lot, by the way. A ton. Okay. 8%, when you want to win so bad, Eric, my buddy Eric Thomas says, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. Well, sure. When you determine that you are going to hit your goals and you are going to get good, and you say, no matter what, I am not quitting, because you can't fail if you don't quit. Like as long as you don't throw in the towel, you will eventually get really good and make a lot of money. Like Rob Sevilla, where you're making $400,000 every time you jump in a home, right, or whatever. Okay. At the end of the day, though, when I commit to something that scares me, because guess what, this industry is going to terrify you. Getting up and going to talk to strangers about products that you don't understand yet is going to terrify you. Guess what? When those things happen, I become more creative. I become more urgent. My back gets put against the wall. I become uncomfortable. I get tested. Well, guess what? As long as I'm committed to the end result, I find different ways to get to the desired outcome, which means I've got to be resourceful and see the whole landscape of what could get me to where I want to go. And quitting doesn't get you there. Like if you have a bad batch of marketing or you have a bad day, like dude, I went to 9 appointments and closed 0 one day when I was a new agent. And I was like, you better believe I was like, I am the worst freaking salesperson of all time. Sure. For sure. Right. Well, those things are going to happen, but as long as quitting is never an option and you determine that you are going to win, then a lot of good things are happening. And to piggyback on that, the biggest reason why people quit, and if I don't say it while I'm thinking about it, I will definitely forget it. Yeah. The biggest reason people quit is they quit here before they quit here, before they actually live it out. Well, what happens a lot of time is they have a rough day. Whoop-de-freaking do. They go home and they're like telling their wife, this business is terrible. I hate it. It's freaking garbage. I'm like vomiting in her ear. Like, it sucks. This is horrible. Rob was a jerk to me. Nobody bought. The leads didn't work, whatever. Right. And then she all she hears is that. And then on the other side, occasionally she says to you, are you sure you want to do this? Are you ever going to get good at this? When are you going to start making sales? When are you going to make money? Shouldn't you just go back to and get a real job? Like my mother-in-law told my wife, hey, why doesn't Cody just get a real job? Because we don't have benefits, right? Like, guess what? But she's saying that back to you after you were just negative to her. Well, guess what? When I vomit on people, or when I listen to social media and it vomits on me, guess what? I'm going to spew it out. And so the best thing you can do is do not complain to your spouse about your career, because when they start to doubt your ability to succeed and win, it's actually because you put it there. You prompted it. You placed it there. Yeah.
And I love what you're saying, because adversity is guaranteed, right? It's
100%.
it's just part of the process. It's part
100%.
of going through this journey. So real quickly, let's piggyback off of that. The circle that you run in, the community that you have around you, because you've probably seen this. I know your dad is a big part of, mentoring you, and you're in that circle, but I'm sure you have other relationships that when life is, gut punching you or beating you down, like our Cowboys beat down the Browns yesterday, right? Then you got to have people you can run to that can speak life back into you and pick you back up, because there's an old Ghetto Boy song that says, my mind's playing tricks on me. That's what you're saying. So talk about how important it is to have a circle or community around you.
Oh my gosh, dude! Like, it's funny because if there's ever I need to talk to somebody, right? I've got my dad, I've got other mentors, I've got my pastor that I can go to. Dude, I can go to Rob. Like, he's constantly sending me positive stuff. Like, total freaking respect for that. I love that, by the way. Right? Most people take this cat deposits. He gives. He doesn't just take. Like, you know what I mean? And he rarely takes. Right? Well, and then when he wants something, I'm like, freak yeah, I'm going to do it for Rob, because he's just constantly giving and pouring in, right?
Sure.
Well, my wife is the same way. Like, I'll doubt myself and be like, gosh, dang it, man, I got to go speak to 977 people today, and I don't know that I've got it. I'm struggling. I'm nervous. I'm freaking out. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And she sent me a text Friday, like, you're going to be amazing. You're going to change their world. God has gifted you to help them. So go help them. And I'm like, gosh, dang it, that's so good. So you talked about it earlier about, like, you normally, you rarely quit or give up when you're in a positive community. It always happens in isolation. When you're by yourself, you're alone, you're on an island, and you don't know what to do, because guess what? We all have those thoughts. We all doubt ourselves. Like,
absolutely.
When you guys go to your first appointment and you're like, that was terrible. And you're driving back home and you're like, do I want to keep doing that? Right? Guess what? You're in isolation. Pick up the phone and call Rob. When you've got community around you and you bounce ideas off other people, they actually, I know so many people that are literally making millions personally every year in this business that failed twice, or that the third time they finally succeeded, or they wanted to quit so many times, but they kept having a mentor that pushed them to stay in the fight.
Yeah. No, and listen, I feel the same way about you, man. Like, you're a person of value, a great depositor of life into people. And, I know I'm older, but I respect you so much, because you speak life into me and to my family. And that's why we love going to 8%, right? That's why we love supporting Cody Askins stuff, because listen, whether you're listening to this today or watching this on YouTube or whatever platform, you have to find a circle. It's a must. You've got to get a circle around you that's going to push the needle towards the direction that you are wanting to go. All right, a couple of more things and we'll close. Now, I'm a pastor, so we close like 3 times, but I promise I'll be respectful of Cody Askins' time today, right? But, or I'm a former pastor, I should say. But so talk about content, right? I like to say it this way when I'm coaching people, that the content we consume the most is what we become the most like.
Yeah.
So talk about videos, social media, books that we read, all of the things. How important has that been to your personal success? and also
So big.
the content of the people that you coach or the other leaders that you're around. How important is it to their success as well?
Yes. Also, you'll always be the Medicare minister to me. Okay. However, um, I love this topic because I felt like early on, like when I was struggling and I was new, dude, I was listening to Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Eric Thomas. Like I was just Cardone. Like I was constantly
Yeah.
feeding my brain constantly with positive stuff,
Yeah.
winning, stay in the fight. You're going to do this. Things going to get amazing. One day you're going to wake up and, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe the life that God has gifted you with, right? Like all the stuff.
Right.
Well, even today, when I'm struggling, dude, I'll throw on a YouTube video. I'll throw on a podcast. I'll throw on my buddy Bishop T.D. Jakes. Like I will throw on something Rob will be sending me stuff, right? With our buddy Myron Golden. And I'll throw that on. Like I'm constantly listening to people because I still doubt myself every single day.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. We've had some success. Yeah. We've built some 7-figure companies, but at the end of the day, I still doubt myself. I still struggle. I still times of isolation where I'm like, I need community, right? Like those things happen. And so also too, most people are not depositing, maybe it's sermons, maybe it's training videos, maybe it's motivation, maybe it's inspiration, whatever it is, maybe it's books, whatever it is for you. Most people, what they do is because the average human spends 2 hours and 24 minutes a day doing this, where they're literally just on social, just like scrolling through social, right? 2 hours and 24 minutes a day. Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens is, my buddy Chris Bryan, what happens is they are just absorbing all of this. And if I go on Facebook or wherever, there's politics, or there's a typhoon, or there's a tornado, or there's a shooting in a school, or there's a pandemic, or there's whatever, right? Well, guess all I'm doing is, or I'm seeing this family and they're on vacation, they're living the perfect life and they have a bunch of money. And I'm like, why can't our family have that? They must have the perfect life. They must be amazing. They never have problems. I'm depositing all that into my brain, my subconscious, all day, every day. And then before I know it, I'm going to start becoming jealous or becoming negative, or that's going to start affecting my mental health, or I'm going to get depressed or whatever, right? Because of the stuff that I'm consuming. What are the things you're consuming that are depositing positive, exciting, enthusiasm, bringing you energy, bringing you life, building you up? What are those things when the other things maybe aren't always doing that for you?
Yeah. And I love part of what you said in there, because I believe that comparison is one of the fastest ways to kill your calling. Right? When I'm trying to be Cody Askins, when God didn't create me to be Cody Askins, He created me to be Rob, the Medicare minister, whatever persona you want to put there, right? So listen, if you're watching this today, that's a word for you. Quit comparing yourself to a 5-year, 10-year agent, who's a veteran in the business. You haven't seen the blood, sweat, and tears that person poured in to get to that level of success. Here's the other thing I'll drop on them real quick, Cody, as we close out today, is that I truly believe that identity precedes activity. Here's what I mean. You've said it all through this almost 30 minutes now of talking, is that a lot of times people don't believe they're a winner, which is the identity that I was created on purpose for a purpose. So why don't I go live on purpose, right? That I'm a winner. But just because I failed within the first 9 days does not make me a winner. It just means that I need to fail more in order to become a greater success. So talk about that, because I think in our business sometimes it's so much activity, or you could say we sacrifice the being part on the altar of doing, and we never become something, right? Because we're so focused on the methodology and the activity. Will you speak to that real quickly as we get ready to close out today?
Yeah, it's such a big piece, man. Like you are, I mean, who said it a long time ago? Like if you think, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. It's like, dude, if that's true, I'm going to think I can, and are you going to doubt yourself? It's going to be a struggle. Yeah, 100%. But like, you always hear the old thought, like a Think and Grow Rich, of like, thoughts are things, like your thoughts become your beliefs, become your actions, become your habits, become your life, right? Well, what's happening? Where is it starting, dude? It's starting with our thoughts, because our thoughts, if we think them long enough, they become beliefs. What does that mean? Well, when I'm depositing my first year every single day, multiple times a day, like literally like this, I'm a six-figure earner. I'm a six-figure earner. I'm a six-figure earner. I'm a millionaire before 30. I'm a millionaire before 30. I'm a millionaire before 30. We're helping every insurance agent in the world. We're going to help every insurance agent in the world. We're going to help every insurance agent in the world. What am I doing? I'm turning thoughts into beliefs. If I deposit thoughts enough, I will start to believe them. If I start to believe them, then I will start to take action on those beliefs. When I start taking actions, they turn into my habits. Then I start habitually winning because it's a habit and it's a part of everyday life. But it started with the thoughts that I had that ended up resulting in the actions that I'm taking.
Yeah, that's so good. And I can't think of a better way to close this out, man. So listen, I believe that if first-year agents want to increase their chances of having success their first year, they need to plug in everything Cody Askins. So talk about that real quickly. Where can we find you? We can get leads at Kaboom Leads, right?
Kaboom.
Kaboom. I had to sneak it in there. I'm sending you that stuff all the time, right?
All the time.
But we can get Kaboom Leads, some of the best leads in the industry. But also you have an insurance agent academy where if somebody goes, hey, I really want to invest in me and my business, I can get in this coaching program, which will greatly increase my chances of success, right? Talk about that real quickly.
Yeah, it's Ultimate Agent Academy. We meet every week. I'll actually be on live in an hour with that group. It's $49 a month. Ultimate Agent. We don't want money to get in the way of helping people, so it's ultimateagentacademy.com. We put out free videos on our YouTube channel at Cody Askins. We actually target new agents a lot with our content. We've got over 3,000 videos on YouTube, over 12,000 videos online. And then if you want to see behind the scenes of what we're doing day to day, you can follow me at Cody.Askins on Instagram.
Absolutely. And then you also have 8%, right? Like they can go to 8%. They can get that
Correct.
mindset fixed, get that. I call it getting back into alignment. That's it. I call it insurance church, right?
Yeah.
I go to my insurance church in July and I get my amen, hallelujah on. Mr. Cody's up there with all of his buddies pouring into us. But Cody, thanks, man. Thank you so much for pouring into this audience. We appreciate you. Listen, if you've gotten value out of the day, take a moment to like, comment, subscribe. Give Cody some feedback, man. Show him some love and let him know that he provided some value today. God bless.